Every longevity expert on the planet told you Zone 2 cardio was the king, the one non-negotiable, the secret weapon of the world's healthiest people. But a major 2025 research review just pulled the rug out, and what it found is going to make you rethink your entire training approach. Zone 2 has had an incredible run. For the past few years, it's been everywhere, on every podcast, in every fitness influencer's routine, endorsed by doctors like Peter Attia and Andrew Huberman. The pitch was simple and compelling. Train at a low, conversational pace for 45 minutes or more, build your mitochondria, boost your metabolic health, and live longer. It sounded almost too clean. And here's the thing, a lot of that was actually true. But the 2025 review just revealed something nobody in the wellness space wants to admit. Zone 2 is not uniquely superior to other forms of cardio, not even close. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do with that information, because the answer is more interesting than just swapping one type of cardio for another. But first, let's make sure we're all on the same page, because there's a detail about how Zone 2 actually works that most people get completely wrong, and it's the same detail that explains why the new research is such a big deal. Zone 2 refers to a heart rate zone, specifically about 60 to 70.
Now pause on that for a second, because this is where it gets really interesting and where a lot of people are going to misread the takeaway. This does not mean Zone 2 is bad. It absolutely works. The research confirms that. What it means is that the story was oversold. Zone 2 was marketed as a uniquely magical protocol, when the actual evidence says it's one of several effective approaches, and that distinction matters enormously for how you build your training week. So if Zone 2 isn't the undisputed king, what actually is? Here's where the research gets genuinely exciting. The finding that stopped researchers in their tracks was this: consistency and total weekly exercise volume predict outcomes far better than intensity zone. Across the board, people who exercised regularly, regardless of whether they stayed in Zone 2, pushed into Zone 3, or did intervals, showed dramatically better cardiovascular and metabolic health than people who didn't exercise consistently. The zone mattered less than showing up. That's point one. Consistency beats zone selection, every time. Point two is about a concept called polarized training, and this is where things get really actionable. The athletes in the review with the best long-term cardiovascular outcomes weren't pure Zone 2 devotees. They were doing what sports scientists call an 80-20 split, about 80% of their training at low intensity and 20% at genuinely high intensity. Not moderate, high. Think hard intervals, sprint work, efforts that are uncomfortable and relatively brief. The moderate zone, that grinding, medium-hard effort most people default to, actually showed the weakest return on investment relative to time spent. It's hard enough to fatigue you, but not hard enough to deliver the specific adaptations of true high-intensity work. Sports scientists sometimes call this the black hole of training. You're working, but you're not optimizing. Here's something to sit with. If you've been doing 45-minute moderate jogs thinking that's your cardio covered, you might actually be training in the least effective zone of all three. Point three is the one that changes everything, and it's the reason the 2025 review matters beyond just the Zone 2 debate. The review found that individual response variability is enormous, meaning two people can follow the exact same Zone 2 protocol for 12 weeks and get wildly different results. Different VO2 max improvements, different metabolic adaptations, different fat oxidation rates. This isn't a flaw in the research, it's a feature of human biology. Some people are high responders to low-intensity steady-state cardio. Others respond far better to intervals. And the only way to know which category you fall into is to test both systematically and track the results. This is the finding that the online wellness conversation has almost entirely skipped over. The debate isn't really Zone 2 versus HIIT. The real question is, what intensity profile does your body respond to best, given your current fitness level, your recovery capacity, and your health goals? So here's exactly what you should do with all of this. 2 moves, starting this week. First, stop optimizing your zone and start optimizing your consistency. If Zone 2 is what gets you out the door 3 or 4 times a week, keep doing it. The research is clear. Regular movement at almost any sustainable intensity beats irregular movement at a theoretically optimal intensity. Don't let perfect be the enemy of actually running. Second, if you're already consistent and you want to push your cardiovascular ceiling, add 1 high-intensity session per week. 1. not 4. Just one session of genuine hard intervals, whether that's sprint repeats, cycling intervals, or rowing. Keep the rest of your sessions easy. That 80-20 polarized structure is what the evidence actually supports for long-term cardio performance and metabolic health. Here's the bottom line. Zone 2 was never a lie. It was an oversimplification. The 2025 research didn't kill Zone 2. It put it in its proper place. A valuable tool. Not the only tool. Not even necessarily your best tool, depending on who you are. The real insight is that you have more flexibility than the longevity gurus suggested. You don't have to log 45-minute slow runs if they make you miserable. You can build world-class cardiovascular health through multiple pathways, as long as you stay consistent and occasionally push hard. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you a Zone 2 loyalist, or have you always felt like intervals worked better for you? Drop it in the comments, because the response variability data suggests this genuinely varies person to person, and I'm curious where you land. If this video changed how you're thinking about your training, hit like. It helps more people find this kind of evidence-based content. And subscribe for weekly breakdowns of the research that's actually moving the needle in health and fitness.